Hey guys, welcome back to another video. This time courtesy of the Nintendo Switch Online service, the Game Boy service that was recently activated for for the system. And the game in question here is Kirby's Dream Land, which was the first Kirby game released in 1992 by HAL Laboratory. I believe, it was the first work game that Masahiro Sakurai worked. He obviously has a lot of Smash Brothers series fame, but yeah, he was. I believe this was his first game, and yeah, the birth of Kirby as a Nintendo character was due to this game, which is I'm really glad I got to explore it again. My original playthrough of this game, in which I beat, it was a couple years ago. It was the same year that the Kirby's Dream Collection for the Wii was released. I bought that collection. It was a great, by the way, great collection, collectible, for Kirby fans. And that's how I beat the game for the first time, playing through the Kirby's Dream Collection. And fast forward all these years, 2020 three now, and this game surprised me. I forgot how short it was. You can definitely beat this game in under an hour. The game only has 5 levels, and the game is very simple in pretty much every way imaginable. It's simple in its story. Basically, the plot is that King DDD basically, invades, Dreamland, and basically takes all the food away. And the goal is for Kirby to get the food back. That's kind of like the short and sweet of the story of the game. And then the soundtrack, talking about the different aspects of the game. Soundtrack is also great. Classic tunes. Obviously not as involved as other soundtracks in previous games, but it gets the job done. But where the game truly shines, it's on the game in its gameplay. Obviously, being an older game now, it and especially compared to pretty much every other Kirby game, obviously this falls flat a little bit. But going back to its own time, back in 1992, I think the game offered some interesting elements, such as being able to kind of like suck up the enemies and being able to spit them as a star. You use this ability to defeat other enemies in the game, and this became a staple in Kirby games. It is pretty interesting, however, that this game does not allow you to gain the abilities of other enemies. That's something that came in later games, in the second one more specifically. So yeah, that's kind of like one of the key components of the Kirby games, that it's not available on this first entry, which I thought it was pretty interesting. There are some power-ups that you can use to have different forms of attack. But the gist of the Kirby abilities, which is sucking up the enemies and gaining their skills, was not available in this first game. So you can still do the huffing and puffing, flying and being able to float in the air. That's in this game. You can release the kind of like the air that you have in your mouth and use it as a kind of like an attack version. There's a lot of different things that are recurring in Kirby games, such as some of the bosses. Wispy Woods obviously makes a debut also in this game, and he's kind of like one of the most iconic bosses in Kirby games. So a lot of characters and bosses have made their way from this first entry into all of the other, or most of the other Kirby games, which is pretty cool. But this game, again, only 5 worlds. It's very short. However, the game does offer like a hard mode at the end. Once you beat the game, the games gives you basically like a cheat code, not a cheat code, but a code that you can input on the title screen, and you can play kind of like the hard version of the game, which is much tougher and much more challenging, by the way. More enemies on the screen, they're faster, and just it's definitely a more challenging version of the game, which it extends the replay value. Me personally, I was happy enough to beat the normal game, which again, it was fairly easy and fairly short, less than an hour. I forgot how short and sweet this game was, but for being the first Kirby entry. It was a fun experience to re-explore this through the Nintendo Switch online service, and yeah, just very interesting on the backgrounds and the graphics in this game are pretty good. I really enjoyed the art direction that how Laboratory is created, because it even though it's a side-scrolling game, and there are some similarities with the Mario franchise in terms of just overall cartoony backgrounds and sprites and whatnot. I think that with this Kirby entry, it kind of created its own art direction, its own style, if you will, that translated and has created the Kirby universe. For laid down the foundation to create a wonderful franchise that has been delivering a lot of interesting and not so interesting games. There are some stinkers here and there, especially like the spin-off games for Kirby games. But for the most part, I think the mainline Kirby games, they're always fun. They're always somewhat easy to pick up and play games that are needed, in my opinion, in any collection, just to have a palate cleanser, if you will, in between hard games. You cannot go wrong with Kirby games. And this first entry, it's a very, very interesting one. It's not a fantastic game by any means. It doesn't offer the full-fledged features that other Kirby games have, but nevertheless, it's an interesting first entry and good first effort by Sakurai. So yeah, a short impressions video, but I thought I shared my review and impressions with you guys of yet another Kirby game. Thank you guys for watching this video, and I will see you all later. Take it easy.